All right, everybody, we are back for round 16 in the afternoon session. And at long last, we have our very special guest. It is none other than current U.S. champion and former UK champion, Austin Shin, here to help me with commentary. Sorry to everyone who was solving words. This is much more important. Austin, welcome to the broadcast.
Thanks, Will. Yeah, it's an honor to be here and to commentate on the MGI tournament. This is the last week, I believe. So down to the nitty-gritty and yeah, see some good Scrabble.
It's been really good so far. We have another really good matchup waiting in round 16. It's between Olatunde Oduwole and Karo, two players that Austin we are for me, my first experience playing both of these players was in Malaysia as part of the Alchemist Cup, and the Nigerian team for quite a while was doing amazingly well in the standings. They had like a huge spread. They were winning a ton of games. Was that your, I guess, maybe for some of these players, your first experience? But you were mentioning that you have more of a history with Olatunde.
Yeah, so Olatunde actually lived in London probably in the mid 2000s for a few years. So I was kind of still an upcoming player in the UK. At that point, obviously not as good as I am now, but he was definitely a level above me at that time. And whenever I kind of made my way up the ranks and up the tournament ranks, so to speak, I would always end up hitting him and then keep losing to him almost all the time. So I've had a long history with Olatunde, going back almost 20 years now. But yeah, I know that he's an extremely strong player, and you can see that he's on the stream right now, and that's why he's at the top.
Yeah, he's been at the top most of the event. It looks like he's, run into a bit of a rough patch, losing a few games more. So right now he's in fifth. He's been in first place most of the entire time. As it looks like that first rack, you can see a ton of A's and a Q. So it's looking like he exchanged, which I think is pretty clear. I guess the only question is, what did he keep? He might have exchanged everything. Maybe kept a C, maybe one of the A's. Exchange 7, we're getting word from MGI in the chat. Seems reasonable enough. I might have kept a letter or two. What about you?
Yeah, probably would have kept it C or maybe CA maybe. But yeah, maybe he just wants to go after some S's and blanks or something.
Always reasonable. So Edda opens with opiate. He had opiate and another E. That seems pretty standard.
Yep.
Um, oh, and look at Olatunde. He has looks close, but I guess oh, there it is. He does this classic thing
Oh, the
when
full
he,
mode.
yeah, forebode. So this is a great play, but I have to say this is going to be interesting to see the hooks. There are a lot of hooks on this, including an R, which I wouldn't necessarily guarantee that both players would feel comfortable playing. Probably both of these players will play Foreboder. We'll see if it comes up, but that's a very nice play. I wonder, you could have positioned this. There are two O's in this word. You could have played this up higher on the board, and just to show what we mean. So forebode up higher has its own set of risks. I don't know which I prefer here.
Yeah, I mean, they actually both score the same number of points. So, obviously, with this, yeah, you can play to the left of the second E and actually get a five-letter word hit. Maybe get if you have a Z five-letter play, you might get hit for 100 points. But again, it really depends on if either of these players know actually any of the three hooks that go at the end of forebode.
Yeah, it's going to be with the positioning that was played. That's going to be interesting to see what happens there. It would be very surprising to not see Edda play something here with foreboded if he felt comfortable here. That seems like the absolute obvious play would be to play something in this spot. It looks like the best evaluated play actually does not play there, though. So
Wow.
you can see that spot is going to be incredibly tempting with a play like middle or something in that area, diadem. But Madid for 56, potentially even better. I'm not sure I would have the discipline to even think to not play foreboded here. So we'll see what Etta does.
Yeah, we know that Etta is a very aggressive player. One of the definitely by far one of the best players in Nigeria, especially in terms of ranking. So definitely well within his skill set to find Madrid. But the question is whether he'll play or not.
Go Rob says this guy has a Mr. T thing going on, which is great. He does. Olatunde does look a little bit like the famed celebrity Mr. T. Sound went soft. Okay, I brought it up a little bit. Hopefully, it's somewhat equalized. We're still. Yeah, it did go. It did get a little. Okay, now maybe too loud. You guys can let me know. So we see Olatunde's rack looks pretty good. Surely he'll have something to do with this rack, I would think. Tunages at minimum through the E of opiate, but probably other stuff. Ungates. Why do I? It feels like
Yeah, so I think it's just yeah, it's not. I don't think that's the word.
ungated. Yeah, just
Yeah.
ungated. So I don't think there's a 7 in there, which
No.
is unfortunate with how good those letters are. But I think Olatunde is quite likely to bingo a second time on his next turn, just because either Madid is getting played or something with foreboded.
Yeah, he has unitages or sauteing.
Oh yeah, much better. Yeah, through the eye, of course. That's yep, well spotted. So all right, so we're gonna see. That is to me, that's
Nice.
more of the logical move. Even a play like the aforementioned Madid parallel to foreboded leaves the forebodes hooks still available for certain plays. This blocks it a bit, so I don't think this is a big error if it is one at all. All right, thanks for popping in, Rob, and thank you, Weibin. And going back in chat, let's see, did we miss? Okay, we're just going back in chat. I see the guesses to the Infinity Words on break, which hopefully you guys enjoyed. So let me flip this screen, give Etta his 52 points. Don't want to forget, that's a great score. So that is, the forebode positioning. That's tough, right? Like you have those huge hooks, but then again, as you said, if you played forebode higher up, you could get hit with an 100-point Z play. Very difficult to evaluate those two. Really, only engine simulation is satisfactory to sort of evaluate that. Oh, nice. Okay, this is a nice idea. 2 to nags and middles. Do we think that's potentially just more points than?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, that's the most points that he can get. In fact, if we'll flip the board and show, you can see 2 to nags here, 72 points. That's the highest scoring bingo. It's actually tied with another play that I neglected to mention of sub agent through the
Ooh.
B. However, sub agent puts an S in the triple lane in a way that you really don't. You don't necessarily want to do that. So this looks like the best play for Olatunde. It's just like really nuanced plays to choose between that, but he's made the right play. I don't know if middles has, I'm sure that has an extension of some sort, right? There must be a word that's like middle shirt or something, right? Like that has to exist, doesn't it?
It looks like Wei Bin just put it in the chat. Doesn't look like there actually are any.
Really? Is contains the right command there? I guess it is, huh? Yeah, I guess it is. So there's no middle. That's a shame. Yeah, like middle brows or something like that. There, nothing like that exists. I would be thinking about that and wasting a lot of time. So anyway, nice play there. Tutanag's definitely the best play for Olatunde, showing his, and it looks like he's drawn uh, a blank there, as I know the board a little fuzzy. Um, so we can see that from Etta's standpoint, he should have some decent places to play his K. He can play OK alongside forebode. The nice thing about that would be you keep your D to potentially play opiated on a future turn if you draw a bingo. So that seems like a reasonable choice, but there's other ideas here. There's another spot for the K down in the corner. Tricky. Not sure which I prefer. You have any gut feelings on where you would go with this, Austin?
So the where it is right now with oak, doesn't give away as much because if you put ochre next to foreboded, it could potentially give away 30, 40 points parallel to that as well. So that might be a factor in terms of which one to play.
Hmm.
Keeping AIRED is actually pretty strong anyway, so you might want to go with slightly less variance, playing oak rather than ochre, which might be something I would probably do.
It's a good point. Yeah, I mean keeping the A by playing in the lower corner, um, you score a couple fewer points, but that A performs really well along with the other letters in that leave, the DEIR combination. So you're probably going to bingo even more. And it looks like Etta playing his R, he plays Roke here, scores a little bit better, 37 points. But I don't know. I might prefer keeping that ER combination because it's so potent for bingoing here. So he's gone for a few extra points, but
Yeah,
we'll see what he
that's
draws.
that's a surprising play. I actually wouldn't expect him to play Rogue or actually playing keeping ADI, which is not actually that great. Yeah, as I said, he was probably going a bit more aggressive with the scoring. We'll see if he ends up replenishing that E and R with his pickup.
Yeah, so it could be one of those, you never know. Obviously, with 12 E's in the set, the odds of redrawing one are quite good, but you never know when you're going to go through that drought of E's when you use one, you think you're going to redraw it, and then you don't for a long time. So it's hard to walk that line between playing your E, knowing you're likely to draw more, but also holding on to it because it is such a precious resource for bingoing. And it looks like Etta has not drawn an E. Instead, he's drawn another I. So just to straighten up the board while it's a little bit blurred. Um, so let's see. Olatunde is about to play just go, it looks like. That looks pretty good. He has two G's and two O's, and this we've been talking about on the broadcast. You don't like it when you have those duplicated tiles. Seems like a pretty reasonable idea. Um, there was, I guess, an idea of if you wanted to play your M off as well for a couple fewer points. It's tricky. None of these leaves are very good, right? He just played go, leaving GMOT blank, which is it's not ideal.
Yeah, it's not great. I mean, you can't really get rid of everything you want for a lot of points. But I mean, maybe another option is maggot through that A, but it kind of gives away a lot of points on with that O, and that kind of may end up giving you the best leave. But yeah, there's nothing that really kind of does everything. Yeah,
Mm, true. Um, so all right, sorry, I guess we missed.
Iwi,
Yeah, Iwi looks like a
best
pretty
player.
reasonable. Yep, that looks like a good play. Played very quickly, just in the corner. Again, Etta leaving that D for the future with opiated, but now he's setting up something even more scary on the triple lane, potentially with ending in R. I'm sure there's other things he could draw that fit there. I guess an N also fits in that spot. So good chances, but again, you'd love to see him with an E here. That would be a big help for his chances of bingoing, and he did use one on the Roke turn. Um, so we'll see. So back over to Olatunde. He got that X. Normally, we like to see the X, but not necessarily when we have a blank.
XI, just dropping it off.
Wow. Okay. That's a pretty solid play. It scores 30. Obviously, he could have potentially played stuff, as we'll flip, he could have potentially played stuff like Mux here a little more safely to not give up that potential huge play along the triple lane. It looks like, oh, wow. And immediate punishment for Olatunde for that aggression. the play of Arenaid was going to play elsewhere on the board with the opiated hook at minimum. But now he's really gotten hammered off of this 95 points, Austin.
Yeah, actually, well, he could still have played Gardenia through that G, but just interestingly, if he
True.
actually played Mux, that would might have been his best play otherwise.
So Austin pointing out Gardenia for 78.
Oh, he still could have
Um,
played opiated, I guess.
yeah, there's still, yeah, even
Oh,
after
yeah,
Mux, it doesn't necessarily block, but 95 points for Aaron Nade
big.
instead. That's a huge, huge swing. So, in fact, such a big swing that Olatunde, who had been in the lead this entire time, is now trailing by 22 points in the game. Wow. So that's okay, though. Olatunde still has that blank. He's getting. I wonder, do you think. Is there any chance of trying a play like motting here? I don't. I don't think that's gonna fly necessarily.
Yeah, these guys know their words, and yeah, I don't think it's gonna fly. Not in this scenario anyway.
Yeah,
But Mog's gonna play here.
down comes. Oh, is it Mog? Okay, so he's
Yeah.
played Mog. There is a crazy Austin. Do you see there? Let me just. I'll take it off the board and just show in Quackle. Do you see the spot on this board where an M would play really for a shockingly good score? There's actually a crazy hidden spot for the M. It's near Arenaid. I don't know if I would see this. I'm just giving you a moment because you're very good at finding this. Do you see it here?
Um.
I'll show it to you. Look at that.
Oh,
Isn't that
right.
amazing?
Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
What a spot that is. Yeah, I am highly doubtful that I would see that. It's really, really impressive. You can see the M would fit between the E and ERG for emerge. Emerge. The section of a hospital that deals with emergencies, I suppose. So Mog is the play that's really not that much worse. It really is more of a style points thing, but I guess technically getting 10 extra points here would be kind of nice. Um, so surprising. Olatunde's going to bingo next turn, I think. Is he? I don't know. Hold on. First things first. Let's think about what Etta is going to do. So Olatunde got 17 points for Mog. It's almost an even game here. So it's Etta's turn, and I'm
What about
not
War?
really. Yeah, I'm not. I don't see a great play currently for his
You could play
Z.
Worf and We. That would set up the
Yeah,
Z.
that's exactly right. Yeah, Austin found it before I did, which is up, and I guess something else is coming.
One.
What's? Oh, wait a second.
Wait, does
He
he? He has an N?
he must have an N. Yeah. Oh, that H must
B and
be
N.
an N. The next H, which
Oh, you
makes
could still play
this.
Worf.
Yeah, Wharf is still available, which I do really like the play of Wharf, just because, and we're gonna flip the board in a second. So just to show you what we're talking about from this rack, Wharf setting up a huge spot for the Z going across is a really interesting idea here to consider. So instead, the play of Juan, which makes sense. Um, this isn't a bad play by any means, but maybe a slight missed opportunity here, as we're about to see. Not sure if Olatunde put something on the board and picked it up. No, I don't think so. Um, so a few extra points now for Etta. He's up by a narrow amount, about 25 points. And the trick here is to find something playable through that E. Um,
Cloutier, I think.
Clottier, that's it. So that's actually the only that is the only bingo playable here. So Olatunde already has shown that he is really good with these blanks. Like he's the only bingo in a previous game. There was one find that he made of butanoic with 4 overlaps, and here it is again. He's really good with these blank
Found it.
bingos. Earlier, he also had unafraid with a blank, And now again, he's found the only bingo available with a blank. Not the hardest find in the world, but he keeps finding them very consistently. He's not missing anything. Um, so a shame for Edda. I think there would have been with this rack a bingo through an I. Isn't that a word? Franzier? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Way been defining it in the chat, but that's a moot point, and Edda's going to need to come up with some other play for his Z here. Not sure if you see anything yet.
Nothing jumping out at me at this stage. He needs to get rid of the F and the R as well, which is gonna be difficult. Um,
True.
but yeah, nothing really scoring a huge amount and getting rid of all those tiles at the same time. He could also decide to keep the Z for another turn and get rid of something else.
If he finds a good enough play, but oddly, the way the board is currently constructed, because Clottier is like one space short of that triple at the top of the board, there's like no triple word scores accessible at all here. Like the best you can do would be a double in tandem with maybe a triple letter score or something like that. So it's not going to be very easy for Edda to score much here, but he'll get something in the 30s most likely and get pretty close. So the question is, can he do that without keeping two R's? I'm not sure he can, because some of the best plays here include phase for 37. That leaves NRR. That's not great. If you want to keep a vowel, you could do that by playing Kaz. That keeps an E, but again, it still keeps two R's, including a couple other consonants. Maybe something like Ranzel. Is this worth? Maybe this is the best thing you can do to set yourself up to not be dealing with duplicated tiles next turn. Clock
Yeah, so
stopped.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ramsel will just also kind of block the board up even more. Okay, so all the tiles are kind of on the left side. That kind of pushes him
True.
to kind of move more to the top left corner even more.
It's a great point. And somebody had mentioned that in the chat. A couple people had said, "Are we playing Scrabble today using only one quadrant of the board?" For the majority of this game, basically, this was all that had been used. We're only just now starting to branch out into other quadrants of the board potentially. Um, so yeah, there's some untapped real estate for sure all in this area. At some point, I expect there to be words on the boards in those areas, but we'll see when that happens. Yeah, curious that the clocks are stopped. Not sure why that would be, but okay. So raise is the play instead of phase for 6 fewer points, but undoubling the R's. I guess that's reasonable. I don't know. That's interesting. I hadn't really considered that. Um, it seems like a reasonable option to avoid keeping those two R's together. But I don't know what you do. You feel like that's a
But
justified
the clock just
sacrifice?
restarted again.
True. Um,
Probably. I mean, the two R's versus an F. I mean, you might not really get a bingo on this board anyway, so you might be tempted to keep an F to try and keep ahead in terms of scoring. But other than that, I mean, it's a 6 point difference. It's probably not a great deal in it between the two.
mhm. Yeah, it seemed when he played it, I realized that I kind of the plays are just enough apart in score to be kind of equivalent in value, right? Like 6 points feels just right. If I want to keep two R's and get 6 extra points while I'm at it, I would do that. So, all right, we see Jeet is the play here that scores 44 points, getting the J at the top. That seems like a really good option. I can't imagine there's anything else. I mean, I guess Taj here if you want to not put the J up there, but you get 4 extra points. The J isn't even that threatening in that position, I don't think.
That's correct. And also, we're looking at Etta's rack. He's got all consonants, and it might be an exchange coming up.
Yeah, I don't know what he's supposed to put on the board. Yeah, he's exchanged tiles, probably
Yeah.
keeping something like RT, CRT, something in that range. And you can see
They just picked up
Olatunde
the blank.
is in good shape here. And we were just talking about how difficult that J
Yeah,
is to
I can see that
use.
now.
Um,
Baji.
yeah, as Austin points out, Baji here is going to be, and I fully
Thumbs down.
expect, yeah, no
Yeah.
question. Olatunde so solid. He doesn't miss stuff like that. It's really, he's so consistent. It's so rare that there's like an obvious best play available that he doesn't find, and he keeps IL blank, which puts him in extremely strong position to bingo on his next turn, and he's already up 100 in this game. So
Yeah, Eta's going to have to bingo now or even the next move to have any chance of winning this game. He's almost out of sight. Olatunde is anyway, and
mhm.
with a blank there, Eta's going to have to do something real soon.
Yeah, we'll see what he draws. The rack is likely to update in short order just to see. And oh boy. So you see there the draw. Some good stuff, certainly. The Q is just not what he wants to see. So, worth noting, I guess, that there is only one U on the board. So maybe you can get away with keeping the Q and hoping to draw one of those U's that are coming. Of course, now we see that Olatunde has one of those.
Illusion, I think, through the L.
That's true. Illusion
Yeah,
through the
something.
L. Yep, illusion through the L of Clottier. That is getting set to go down for Olatunde next turn. I suppose it's theoretically blockable. There are some good plays with, so potentially playing A V E is kind of a nice scoring option for Etta again if he's able to look past keeping that Q here as he flips the board around. But yeah, oh, was he getting ready to play? Yeah, he
Yeah.
is. Again, these guys are good, right? Um, Physics says this is when Olatunde types BALNK. I think that's an intentional misspelling in the game chat, and Etta resigns, which I don't know if he's going to do that. This is a really nice play by him, getting 35 points, and obviously he doesn't want to keep the Q, but 35 points is a lot to take if you can. So, but now that did block illusion. So I'm not seeing anything else. But here, I'll take a look. Oh my God. Okay. There is a bingo here.
Where?
I don't want to say too much because it is an
Is it
absolutely ridiculous play.
is it through the NO?
It is not through NO. All right, hold on. Let's see what is. All right. So
Oh,
OI.
I see it. I see it.
Do
I
you
got
see
it.
it?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Is it viciously?
It is viciously,
Oh my God.
viciously through the VC, spotted by Austin. Incredible if he were to have played that. Instead, we just see, sorry, let me flip again. We just see OI in the corner. For mere mortals, that's a very reasonable play. Olatunde is still going to be bingoing a ton on his next turn, but viciously would have been style points for days if he had played that. And it's not that crazy if he had opened his mind to the possibility. Like, if somebody tells you there's a bingo through VC, you can probably find that play because it's an inflection of a 7, but unless someone's telling you to look there, you're never going to look there. I mean, it would take unbelievable presence to think of that spot. Austin, I give you some possibility. I'm never seeing that, but I give a pretty good chance of seeing that play.
Oh, thanks for that. I'm not so sure I would have seen it in this scenario unless you said that. So I might have just been disappointed with illusion being blocked and just
and
playing OI instead.
and move on. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's tempting. As we see quotas is played here. That looks like a pretty reasonable play from this rack. So Etta did draw one of those U's. It's a shame that he has to use up his S here, but because he had so many consonants, I think also the S doesn't really play super productively on this board anywhere. So it makes sense not only to use it for 8 extra points, but also to increase your chances of drawing a vowel, maybe drawing the blank. So I think that's a sensible play here for Etta as we move on. And now I have to imagine that there must be something here.
Cut lines, I think.
Cut lines, yeah, cut
Yeah.
lines at minimum from the C there. Actually, not much else. Outlines, cut lines. oddly the same letters playing in the exact same order, right? Cut lines and outlines. You can
Oh
see
yeah.
as you move up and down from one to the other, it's the same exact order of letters. So cut lines scoring 4 more points, and also putting that S in the second spot feels much more difficult to use for Edda, I think.
So it depends. I can't see what tiles are left in the unseen right now, but
Oh,
cut lines actually gives a QU spot above the I and the N. I don't know if something like Kwai is still available to be played.
so
You
not
might be thinking of things like that.
not after the previous
Oh, the
play of
Q's already gone.
quotas.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's
In
right.
in general, yeah, this is kind of a scary spot for sure to give up, but
That is true.
most of the scariest stuff has been
Gone
played.
now, yeah. Okay, well then I think cut lines is probably a good play here.
Yeah,
Although it
just
may give
wanting
away
to
a lot of points as well.
minimize. Yeah, it does give points away, but in this particular situation, Olatunde already up 50. You want to
Yeah,
minimize that chance of the 9 timer
long
here.
timer.
So interesting. I guess it's also worth noting that non-guilt is playable
Oh,
to the NO at the bottom of the board, but I think that's not only is that not as good as cut lines, it's also I wouldn't even be looking there either. So um, hey, thank you to Sockhampton for the tier 1 sub. Really appreciate that. It's been great, Sockhampton, having you along, asking questions in the chat. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Um, so yeah, Olatunde, whenever you got that blank, just want to do that due diligence, look through as many of the open letters as possible. Do you have a system, Austin, when you get a blank? Is there like a series of steps that you do with it? Because I wish I had a better system.
I probably have the same system as most people who just going through the alphabet from A to Z and just try and come up with something that I can see at that time.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I could optimize that. There must be a way to optimize and prioritize. I wonder if anybody goes through the letters by like probability as opposed to A, B, C, D, E, F, G. If there's anyone that does like E, S, R, T, right? Like, because that would be the most efficient way to go through the alphabet as opposed to doing it A, B, C. But I don't know. They teach you your ABCs pretty young, and I can't seem to reorder them for Scrabble in my brain. So
That's right. And I think if you kind of mix up the order, you're gonna forget what you've done and what you haven't done.
physics is fun says I go through the letters in reverse probability order. No surprise there. The sicko that he is. Listeem says watching at the grocery store. That's great to hear. If only an army of Listeems, and we would conquer the world here on the Scrabble channel. Of people glued to their phones at the grocery store watching
Well,
Scrabble.
there might just be a big TV in the grocery store and you're just watching it
That's a
in
great.
Costco or something or any other shop. They
Yeah.
just have them in the TV section.
Yeah, let this anybody out there, if you're at Best Buy, if you're at Costco, you're at a wholesale club right now, go get those TVs and get those smart TVs and tune them to
Yeah,
twitch.tv/Scrabble. Go
just cast them.
and post your pictures of yourself doing that. And I'll give you some reward personally if you do. So, all right, Olatunde still having a good thing. He plays so quickly in general. I feel like he is such a quick player on those obvious moves. He spots them and plays them so fast that he has ample time to take really as much time as he wants within reason to go through this rack. I fully expect him to find something. It's worth noting that Edda's rack is decent. It's not quite all the way there to a bingo. He's like a letter away. I guess the only thing that he would have through that is pre-lunch to an H, so that's not happening for him. But he's pretty close.
Yeah, I
Um,
think maybe what Olatunde is thinking here is just going through whatever letters are left unseen, but also might be trying to find a bingo through that first tee of Cloutier and not open up some kind of nine timer lane. That really might be the only way for him not to give anything away. That might be too scary.
mm.
But he might literally be going through all the anagrams and seeing which is the best one out of all those floaters in Cloutier.
So So Austin had mentioned what are the unseen tiles. I just tried my best to get that up there so you can see he's looking at unseen tiles that consist of a lot of high scoring tiles. Two Ys, a V, an F, a C, a P. There are definitely some good bingo tiles in the bunch, but it looks very consonant heavy to me. There's only a handful of vowels left. Looks like 4 vowels to 12 consonants. So I wouldn't be too scared to put an S in that early position with cut lines. Oh boy, he's going for the style points though. I don't know if this is, I feel like this is very impressive that he spotted this. I give him a ton of credit for spotting this. At the same time, I think cut lines is a little safer just because now this S is sitting here really much more easy to hit, but even then, anything short of a triple triple, excuse me, short of a triple triple, Olatunde is going to be just fine here. So I think it's purely a matter of maximizing his spread. But non-guilts, hey, that's pretty stylish. I do give him credit
Yeah,
for
very
that.
impressive that he found that. Again, not quite sure that's technically the best play, but he's definitely got a lot of style points for that play for
Yeah.
sure.
Um, he's gonna physics says he's gonna pick it up and play cut lines. Because it is something we've seen a little bit. The players here are definitely no stranger to placing some, and no, he has committed this play, in fact. So very, very nicely done by Olatunde, playing non-guilts at the base of the board there. Um, some discussion of the faking out. Do you have any, like, have you seen, Austin, any of these instances of players putting stuff on the board? It's happened a couple times now. Players putting a losing play on the board and then picking it up and placing a winning play. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Um,
Um,
yeah, I mean, I've seen it happen a few times. I think maybe they're just trying to give you instill a little bit of hope in the game, but
before
not so
they
sure that's something that I
crush
would ever
it,
do.
before they then crush that hope into
Exactly.
dust. And then it hurts all the more because you feel that wind fluttering away before your very eyes. I've never done stuff like that, but I definitely yeah. As and hello to David Eldar in the chat. Nice to have you along with us. It's definitely untapped strategic territory to see if you can really grind your opponents down, the mental game in that way. I guess we don't pay enough attention to that.
Yeah, unless there's like a person or like a player that you know kind of gets tilted very easily, then you might do it. Won't name any
Yeah,
names.
yeah. Um, and Scrabble can be an extremely tilting game, so it's definitely, it could be that you want to just take every last advantage if somebody is already kind of teetering on the brink of tilt. Maybe an experience like that will just push them over the edge all the way. So um, yeah. So, okay. So, Lukeman in the chat, Mind Games Incorporated says Karo is holding the play of non-guilts. That makes a lot of sense. If you have any doubt in this play at all, I think challenging it makes a world of sense because you can't really win if it stays on, I don't think. Um, so maybe he'll give it a challenge. We haven't seen much of that, actually. People challenging words just to be sure. We've seen much more of players actually getting away with phonies in these scenarios. So we'll see.
And this is a 10-point penalty challenge, is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So challenging a valid word gives the player of that word 10 extra points, which is not insignificant, but at the same time, if the upside of challenging is to take a 70-point play off the board, that does change the calculus quite a bit. So
Yeah, I'm not actually sure how many other countries play to the 10-point penalty challenge. I believe mainly Nigeria only do that.
I like it. I mean, I think it's a huge gulf between double challenge and 5-point challenge of like the incentives for challenging a word are so different between those two. And I do like that middle ground a little bit, adding a few extra points. Even then, you could even go further if you wanted. I don't know if there's. I don't think anybody is doing any different challenges. Okay, looks like we are seeing a challenge here.
There we go.
So Edda is deciding to make absolutely sure that non-guilt is a word. It happens to be a word. Um, I feel like there are definitely some words with like non that there are some non-words that are adjectives and don't pluralize, but this one really does feel like a noun. Um, but why not check? Why not check? So
Yeah, especially if it's like a game-winning play, you might as well do it. I'm sure he would have noticed that he could have played outlines or cut lines and was like, why is he playing this instead? So that might also factor into it because he could have played something valid and arguably more points as well.
yeah. Um, Comment about have the commentators mentioned the players' fantastic shirts. I did mention it before. I had mentioned also that I have a jersey that looks kind of like that. That was sort of at the beginning of the broadcast. Austin, what are your thoughts on these? I mean, these look pretty nice. I would love to get
Yeah.
one of these shirts here.
Are they almost the same shirt but just different color? Like one's red,
Yeah,
one's blue.
yeah. It looks like there's red and blue variations of this shirt. I would be happy with either or both, frankly.
Yeah,
Um,
sign me up. I want one.
Yeah, I'm up for that. So when I had said that before, Mind Games Incorporated said we will get you one, and I was like, yes, this is it's all worth it. The waking up at 4 a.m. That's become a good life choice for me if I get a shirt like that. So
That's
so
cool.
Edda's in a bad situation here. There are two in the bag. I can show you what he is looking at
Two,
here in just a
two other
moment.
vowels, right?
Oh, wow. That's crazy. Yeah, it looks like, hold on. Do I have this right? Um, there's somewhere I have lost track of an F apparently. Are there two F's in the chat for me? Because I feel like Olatunde,
Yeah, one of the F's in forebode and Olatunde has the other F.
yeah. Oh, I see. I have the rack entered wrong. That's why. Okay, in Quackle. I have the rack entered wrong. That explains that. That fixes the issue. Okay, so now I can show you guys what Edda is looking at here. So unseen tiles to him is AEFNRSVYY. And as Austin said, we know the last two tiles in the bag are AE, which is kind of interesting. I wonder, is there some crazy swindle you can pull knowing that if AE were in the bag, that it would be extremely difficult to block the S of non-guilts, right? Like, I guess you would still be able to play something here like SNY. Well, even then you would make SNY with the E hook. Oh, but if you wouldn't have an E. All right. I don't really think there's any realistic like trick you can pull here, but theoretically, if Edda were to know that AE were in the bag, you could do some fun things here. Um,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and you wouldn't be expecting that whatsoever also. And yeah, and with Olatunde's decision to play non-guilt, um, I'm wondering if well, actually, he would have a whole bunch of tiles to kind of look at here in terms of what nine times are possible. But we're knowing that AE and with the tiles that Etta has, are there any nine timers theoretically possible for Etta at this stage?
I don't know. That's tough. Let's see. So we'll just see what we can come up with.
I have to look into it. Let me
S's
see.
S's in fifth position. Pleasure.
Oh,
So if you would have to play CN somewhere,
con and care.
and then you would draw into play. Yeah, so con and care. There it is.
There you go.
Good
Non-zero chance of winning now. Play it.
physics with a great zinger in the chat says I haven't fished for pleasure since I was a kid. Yeah, fishing for pleasure. And fishing has come up a couple times on the official Scrabble stream because we've been talking about the big chess scandal. In poker, there's another scandal. And apparently in fishing, there was also some kind of scandal. So we were having a fishing discussion there, which is pretty amazing. Okay, so anyway, it looks like Edda has sort of given up here, and he plays Scup. Whoops, let me not flip the board. So he plays Scup. He's not going to fish. Ultimately, those crazy ideas that we were talking about were very unlikely to work anyway, because even in those situations, Olatunde would have ways of blocking the big play somehow or other. It would be kind of difficult, though. I actually don't know what would be better between Snai or Sin. Either one of those plays would yield scary stuff. But either way, Edda sort of gives up, and what did... Oh, okay, Foy was the play that was made there for a nice score, 32 points. That's probably the best play. And then an outplay of Cleaner, which looked like it was relatively unblockable for 22. So we're going to get a final score in this game of 5-12 to Olatunde to 4-18 for Karo. So that's good news for Olatunde. He gets back on the winning track here. That was a pretty interesting game, Austin. I don't know. Do you have any plays that stand out to you here as we sort of review what happened?
Well, we've actually got two 9-letter words on the board, which is not something you always see all the time. And yeah, it's just great knowledge by both of these players. Um,
Yep.
and yeah, they just both know a lot of words. They both didn't really miss anything. There wasn't really any huge moves, I would say, that were kind of a huge miss. Maybe Worf might have changed a few things,
That
and
would have
so
been really interesting. Yeah. So the wharf play that we were talking about before. So obviously we have that cognitive thing of when the player that loses the game, we try to figure out what could they have done differently. And that's, there's definitely things when you win a game that you could do differently. So that's kind of unfair. But in this particular game, we're looking at this scenario where the scores at this juncture were it was a really close game, and Edda was actually going to be up by 20-ish points here. So the question of what to do, he played a very solid play of Juan, but we actually really liked this idea of Worf setting up the Z, which is going to stay open a lot of the time because you see a lot of plays to the triple here. Bingos ending in S can happen sometimes, but after that you get a Z bomb and equalize after plays like that a huge percentage of the time. So yeah, definitely a slight, and again, just looking at the points and leave valuation of these plays, they're incredibly close together. But I'm going to guess that I'm just going to do a quick simulation. And actually, Juan is simming quite well. So maybe that Z setup isn't as potent as we think. So they're simming neck and neck. I would have thought Worf would just punish it in simulation, but not yet. So maybe Edda made the right play there after all.
what was the move before Worf? Was it the bingo?
Whose move? Edda's last move?
Yeah, the move
Yeah, it
before.
was Araneid for 95.
Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah,
So.
your opponent would have basically a random assortment of tiles. So,
Oh, I'm sorry.
oh yeah,
The opponent move before this.
yes, yes,
It
yeah.
was Mog.
Oh, Mog. Okay.
So
Hmm.
a little stronger, indicating a little bit
Yeah.
more strength to where. But I do feel like, a play like Worf, even though it opens a little bit up for the opponent, it's still like there already was an S hook with opiates, right? So Worf's isn't adding a ton of new threats. You're blocking the E a little bit. Some of the time, you might be happy that you block off the E instead of leave it open. So yeah, Worf does open a little bit more than you might want to after your opponent plays Mog, but it's probably not so dangerous as to not want to set the Z up. But again, the simulation likes Juan here, so
Okay.
pretty well.
Shows
So
what I know.
that says a lot. I mean, I was with you completely there. That seems like a missed opportunity. So, all right, well, we've got our round 16 game in the books. Yeah, David says, "What Worf too wild?" Yeah, maybe it is a little too wild. I like that wildness, but who knows? All right, we're getting some of the results in. Olatunde's win, pushing him up to third in the standings. Etta is still well within the hunt at 9-7 with a decent spread. So the previous game before the break, we saw the top player right now, Tega Okia Mute, play a very, very good game. Remarkably fast, like super fast and super accurate. So I hadn't heard of Tega, but I would love to at some point if he stays at that top ranking. I think we're gonna see more of him again. Any of your impressions of this top group in the standings, Austin?
So yeah, a lot of them I've either played before or seen before, but no real big surprises. Maybe only slight surprises that Atta and Wellington are both near the bottom of that top 10. But the two games behind the top two right now. I think it's the final top two. Is that correct?
It is, yeah. So we will have 24 games in the main event before a best of five finals between the top two finishers. So it's still 8 games to go. So two games back with 8 games to go is hardly insurmountable. And I agree with you that those two players at the 8th and 9th spots, Wellington and Etta, are major threats to move up. So yeah, we'll see. I think what we'll do now is take a little bit of a break before our round 17 game so we can get set with our players and reset all of the matchup stuff. But stick around. It's not going to be much longer until we're back with round 17 at the MGI Grand Slam 2022.